but luckily I had my phone. I kept my distance from him. Called.
But luckily, I had my Adidas. I kept my distance from him. Cluck is you talking about? If you recently hit your shin, which is this right here, right? And shouts out to the extra skin right here, right? Or your pinky toe. Because I know how that shit feels. Cause the moment you hit either your pinky toe or your shin, you're like this. Oh my. And then right after you're like, don't touch me. Don't touch me, okay? Don't touch me and we gonna be good. Like I'm already pissed that I hit my pinky toe. I feel like it's about to come off right now. That's how bad it hurts. So don't touch me, don't talk to me, don't look at me. Okay? Relax. Go over there. I need you to be 6 miles out because if you touch me, I'm going off on you. Or for real. I'm going off. I might rock your head. Don't, so please. Just stay over there. Don't. I'm already in enough pain. Please. I feel like my pinky toe is just dangling off. But look, it's been a minute since I had the bag. It's been a hot minute since I had the bag. What's that Young M.A. song? I get the bag and flip it and tumble it. Car came with it. Then I made the bitch come in it. No double cup in it, no lean. Just a red punch with the rum in it. Okay, I get it. I don't know. Ooh, it's right here. You see it? It's like some drippity drips. Right there. Drippity drips. Right there. When I drip, we drip. Kids, I'ma look away now. It's not gonna be a pretty sight. I'm just getting the excess butters. I'm getting the excess butters off. So kids, look away. Viewer discretion is advised. That's what I live for, right there. I love the extra. But so I got. Whew, popcorn never gets old to me. Last one I got, cheesy caramel corn. God, I hope this is good because I love me some caramel. I'm not so much like by itself because it gets stuck to my teeth and like to the roof of my mouth, but other than that, I love caramel. You know I gotta do the taste test before the taste test before the taste test. Oh wow. I can already smell it. And it smells pretty good. It kind of smells like coffee. I don't really like coffee. Oh, and I like Starbucks coffee because I tasted other people like Starbucks coffee, but that's about it. I don't wake up every morning and drink coffee. Okay, yeah, it definitely smells like. I don't know why it smells like coffee, but yeah. Right there, right. Here we go. Oh my God. That's good. This is the least saltiest one out of all of them that I've had so far. This is really good. And then right? Put it in this. It's like I'm vibrating it. Pause. Wait. Taste test. It's okay. It's okay. It's not that good with popcorn. Maybe some with something else, but it's okay. Now, I'm about to get into the reaction, but look. Next time I have yeah. Next time I decide to use seasonings again, or next time I have popcorn, I'll mix this with this, with this, with this. It's a lot. With this. And with this. And I'm gonna mix it all together to make one seasoning. You think it's gonna be good? You think it's gonna be nice? Let me know in the comment section below. But hey, let's go right into it.
What if it was your job to keep an eye on the things that go bump in the night?
That's not my job.
Well, that's what security guards do. Watch over places and things when there's supposed to be no one around. When you're that alert and alone in a mysterious place, it's almost a guarantee you'll see something nightmare-inducing. Enjoy these 10 extremely disturbing confessions from security guards. And let me know in the comments what you think the scariest job would be. And don't forget to like this video, or dislike if that's your thing. Thank you.
Hell no. Hell no. He's a... Here we go. God damn. He said, give the video a thumbs up, a like, if you like the video. Or if you didn't, give it a thumbs down if that's your thing. If that's your thing to give people thumbs down, stay the hell away from me and my channel. That's all I'm saying. It's nothing but love over here. Love in the utmost respects. There you go. Go.
Number 1. Stable Security.
Okay.
By Argos.
Your shoes better be stable.
A couple of summers ago, I worked as a stable hand on a farm just off a main road that led into town. The farm used to be a safe haven for illegal immigrants to squat in outside of Chicago, but it's been restored since then. Up until this point, I had mostly worked cleaning out horse stalls, taking the cattle in and out of the pasture, and making sure all the animals had food and water. One day, my boss, let's call him JC, asked me to stay late to watch over the stable while he attended a horse race in a nearby town.
How late?
I accepted, of course. Otherwise, this would be quite the boring story to tell.
Hell no. Before that race, before he went off to that race, I would have stopped him dead in his tracks, and I would have been like, no, excuse me. You're not about to just walk off like you just didn't say, I want you to stay late. No, no. You didn't give me no time frame, so I'm gonna give you a time frame, okay? I was supposed to be off at 7 p.m. But you want me to stay later. So you want me to stay at 8? 9 is kind of pushing it. 10, you pressing your buttons. 11, no. 12, you're not talking. 1 in the morning, you miss me. 2 in the morning, cancel Christmas. 3, I quit.
I ended up stocking up on snacks and bought an entire 2-liter of soda to keep in the old Gattor cart we had in the barn. I drove around the property a few times to make sure everyone had gone home for the night, then brought the remaining horses inside before I decided to head inside myself and take a break and eat some dinner. I was a regular makeshift security guard, and it was kind of fun. At least for a while. Right away, I knew something was wrong.
Wow.
When I found the large doors leading into the section of the barn JC's horses were in, wide open.
Keep it open.
I didn't see anyone inside, and I had initially assumed my boss had come back early. So I parked the Gattor outside, blocking the exit so if anybody was sneaking around, they'd have to climb over.
Stop assuming.
I looked around for about 20 minutes, coming up with nothing. But I did notice that the pen in the barn that the goats were kept in was open, and the goats had escaped. A couple of the goats were still in the pen, but the rest had made their escape. I now made it my duty to wrangle the rest of the goats before my boss returned. Otherwise, I'd be in a heap of trouble. As I walked about the rest of the barn and stable, I managed to find and chase back all but one of the goats.
Oh.
I had no clue where the last one was.
He's gone. 6 out.
Before I suddenly heard a loud crash from the kitchen area of the attached offices.
Oh.
I headed over, but strangely enough, I could hear something else. It sounded like one of the goats had tried to run out the still open barn doors. I raced over as fast as I could, only to catch what looked like a pair of rather large Hispanic men climbing over the Gattor I'd left parked in the way of the doors.
You're shitting me.
I was about to tell them the stable was closed for the day, when I noticed that one of them was armed. I could see the handle of what looked to be a firearm sticking out of the waistband of one of the men, and before I could hide, they spotted me.
The fact that you notice all of this and you see all of this lets me know that you're too close to these guys. You're too close to these fellas. So I'm gonna need you to backtrack, back up a little bit, and then when you can, I'm gonna need you to haul ass in those Adidas that you have on. Oh, you say you don't have Adidas? Well, bet you might as well just stay there because you're not going nowhere. You can't go nowhere. Oh, what you say you got Vans on? Oh, okay. You might as well be walking around barefooted if you're trying to run in some Vans.
Thinking fast, I blurted out the first thing I could think of. Hey, either of you seen a goat running around here?
Wow, you talking.
I called out. They looked puzzled for a moment.
Stop talking.
Before they finally replied. I didn't know much Spanish at the time, but I did catch the word cabra, which, if you don't know, is Spanish for goat. I shrugged my shoulders a bit, watching the two men before I decided to duck around the corner, pretending to resume my search of the missing goat as I leaned against the wall, straining to hear. The two men talked for a while, and I could hear them trying to open the doors to some of the horse stalls. They were locked, though, which thankfully proved to be enough of a deterrent to cause them to leave. I had initially presumed that they were looking for the medicine we keep locked in the storeroom, on JC's side of the stable, but it soon dawned on me that these men were looking for my boss's main racehorse, his most valuable possession.
But you still there.
Thankfully, she was with JC in an entirely different county. I stayed there, listening from around the corner for what felt like an hour. The men tried to move the Gattor before leaving, but had also given up on that, discovering I had taken the keys out of it. They eventually left, and I soon followed after, deciding that minimum wage wasn't worth potentially being injured over.
Hell yeah.
If not worse.
Right?
It wasn't until nearly 6 months later, after I'd found another job, that I discovered that my former boss had accumulated an unfortunately substantial amount of debt with some loan shark in Chicago, and then had been caught selling some sketchy things from the stable. It finally clicked what those men were looking for that night. They were looking for my boss and their money.
And you was right in the middle of that.
Number 2. Don't be a security guard. By Richard.
The best model of 2018.
To begin, I need to tell you how I ended up working the night
Model?
shift of a security job
Best
at a
phrase.
pharmacy in the middle of nowhere.
Best phrase.
Being fresh out of high school, with no immediate plans to go right off to college, I decided that getting a job would be worthwhile.
As a security guard.
I live in a small town just off of a highway in the Midwest United States. And when I say small, I mean small. A population of no more than 700.
Damn.
As you can imagine, in such a small community, there aren't too many well-paying jobs, especially for someone with only a high school diploma. Luckily for me, my grandfather owned and managed a 24/7 pharmacy, and was more than happy to offer me a decent salary job as a security guard. He called me up one morning and said that he had an opportunity for some cash. For reference, I'm a fairly mesomorphic guy. I stand a little over 6'3", so I wasn't at all intimidated by the thought of doing a hands-on job like that.
But so before we get into this job, I just want to know if I do the security job, right? Will I be working first shift? No. Damn. Will I be working, and I kind of don't want to, will I be working second shift? No? Okay. No. I'm not doing third shift. You cluck that. You miss me with that. I'm not. I'm just. You know what? I'm not doing third shift. Like I'm just not. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Okay. So relax. Bitch.
He continued, telling me that I'd have to work the night shift from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m.
You're tripping.
I already was sort of a night owl, so I had no problem being fit into the nighttime shift. He made the job sound easy enough as well. I'd receive a little bit of training from the senior security guard, a quiet man named Don, and all I'd need to do is make rounds around the building, making sure no junkies are trying to steal their prescriptions worth, or anything like that. Eager to start, I agreed, and 3 hours later I started driving to the building.
Hey. If I was a security guard, hypothetically speaking, and I did like second shift, and I was waiting on, you know, the person to come in for third shift, it's a new guy, I would have told him, hey, I just want to let you know that one day I came back to the job. It was about 11:17 at night. That's a very specific time, but I'm just saying. So I came back one night to the job at about 11:17 p.m. Right? I forgot I forgot my umbrella, and I knew it was gonna be raining in the morning, so I wanted to come by and get it, that night. All I'm saying is, when I got my umbrella, I seen about 7, 8 ghosts just posted up like this. And they was like, yo, what's good? And I was like,
pharmacy was in a real weird location, 13 miles down the highway from my town. There existed a little strip mall directly off the road. It consisted of my grandfather's pharmacy, a now deserted Burger King, a cheap rundown motel, and a gas station. The pharmacy was the largest of the buildings in the strip mall. It was maybe half the size of your average Walmart, and was at the far end of the lot, closest to the woods bordering the strip mall and the highway. I arrived at 4:30 in the afternoon. My grandfather and the aforementioned Don were waiting out front and greeted me when I stepped out of my car. After signing some paperwork, establishing direct deposit information, and basic training of how to perform my tasks, use the security equipment and whatnot, I was good to go for my shift. All throughout the training, Don was very quiet. He seemed distant or solemn. He was constantly looking off into the woods bordering the pharmacy. Whenever I tried to follow his gaze, I couldn't see anything. I remember the next part in great detail. Right before it started, my grandfather pulled me aside and told me this in his uncanny country accent. "We don't get many visitors out here, son.
I wonder why.
Still gotta keep your eye out, though. If you see any weird stuff happening, just ignore it. It'll go away on its own." As soon as he finished speaking, he hopped in his pickup and he drove away. Right away, I thought this was weird, but didn't bother questioning him about it, figuring he was just trying to mess with me on my first day. With my shift starting in 30 minutes, I downed a Red Bull to make sure I had enough energy to do the entire 12 hours. Come 7 o'clock, only 4 people were in the building. There was me, Dawn, who was in the security room working the cameras, Margaret, the on-duty pharmacist, and a guy whose name I forget, so we'll call him Jerry, who was Margaret's tech and assistant. I spent my time sitting in the lobby area of the pharmacy at the back of the building, where the desk where you get the prescription filled is. It gave me a good view of the entire store, as the shelves and the aisles were very short, and I was content that I wouldn't miss any criminal activity. 4 uneventful hours later, I was pacing around the inside of the building, feeling somewhere between restless and bored. I noticed that we'd had no customers come in yet, but I thought it was normal considering the location of the building and time of day. That's when my walkie-talkie crackled, and I heard Don's monotone voice from the other end. "Rick, something moving outside right by the back entrance.
Yeah, alright.
Looked like a teenager effing around. Check it out. Over."
Why you got what? No. You can take this one. Go ahead. Take this one. I'm not taking it. You go ahead. I'm gonna be in the bathroom. Yeah, doors locked. Why I gotta take this one? First day on the job, you gonna make me do stuff? That's messed up.
Said what he said, and as soon as I registered it, I immediately felt off. I'm not normally freaked out, but I couldn't fathom why a person would be behind an old strip mall in the middle of nowhere at 11:15 at night. Hoping that either Dawn imagined it or the camera glitched, I replied with a quick, "On it," and headed to the back entrance of the store.
Shoulda hauled it.
I opened the back door, feeling slightly nervous, but I didn't see anything. Not at first, anyway. A single strip of fluorescent lights from above the back door illuminated the parking lot. I looked out over it to make sure nothing was out of the ordinary, and that's when I saw it. Standing maybe 60 feet away, right at the edge of the woods.
Way too close.
There was a man, or at least it looked like a man. It was only barely illuminated by the light, so I could make out only its silhouette. But man, was it tall, even from that distance, at least a foot taller than me. My stomach sank, and I felt really unsettled. I did, however, want to do my job and get this impossibly tall dude off the premises. I called out to it with a simple, "Hey!" Immediately after I said that, the thing took off straight into the woods, disappearing from my sight almost instantly. Trying to rationalize it, I told myself it was probably a bear or something like it, even though the way it moved and stood looked nothing like any animal I've ever seen.
You doing too much. Like, if I was in your situation, the best I would have done, right, if I was to go check out, what was in the woods, if I was you. Because if I was in that situation, I would have been 6 out. I would have been 6 miles out. Best believe that. But hypothetically speaking, if I was in your shoes, right? Oh, dusty ass shoes. Right? I would have, you told me to go check it out. I would have been like, I would have cracked the door open, looked out with one eyeball, and said, "Well, nothing to see here. Time to go back inside."
Being very unsettled, but wanting to get the shift over with, I headed back inside. This is where things take a turn for the worse. 45 minutes later, it was exactly midnight. I remember, because I was on my smartphone when it happened. I was back in the lobby of the pharmacy when I suddenly heard loud noises all around me. I looked up, and I saw easily what was the scariest thing I've seen in my life. All the windows, which lined nearly the entire store, exploded
Whoa.
all at once.
See.
Like they were all being crashed through at the same time. There was glass flying everywhere, and it felt like a war zone. Thankfully, it only lasted a few seconds. I couldn't see anything that could have caused the event through the now empty window panes. I pinged Don. He didn't answer, and once I confirmed that Margaret and the tech were okay, I ran over to his office. Once I got into the security room, what I saw chilled me. Don was lying on the ground, with broken glass everywhere.
God, that sucks.
His face was covered in red fluid. Apparently, when the glass exploded, it also affected all the monitors in the security room, sending massive splinters of glass into Don's face.
Oh, God.
The monitors all looked like someone threw a grenade at them. They were all totally wrecked. I called an ambulance, and they immediately took Don to the hospital. When the county police showed up, I explained to them what had happened. They would have thought I was crazy if it wasn't for the pharmacy team backing me up. They took our statements, did a quick search around the area, then left, assuring us through forced smiles that it was nothing to worry about. Obviously, me and the other pharmacy staff decided to call it a night after that. With all the windows busted, the building was entirely freezing, and definitely not presentable to customers at all. We all were unsettled by what happened. I called my grandfather, leaving him a quick message on the phone, although I'm sure it was somewhat incoherent, as I had no way of properly explaining what had happened, and I was still shaken up. I might have been able to forget about the incident entirely, if it weren't for what happened next. After locking up the store, as I was leaving and getting into my car, I noticed there was a figure standing across the parking lot from me.
So hurry up.
By the dilapidated burger joint. Since the area was lit with proper streetlights, I could make out more of the figure. I knew it was the same one from before right away.
You need to stop. You need to stop. You need to stop. Just stop. Okay? Because right now you're doing too much. You're doing a whole lot of extra shit. You notice a figure. You notice somebody in the distance. So you try your hardest to try to make them out. To try to figure out who or what that is. Like, no. You notice something. You notice someone in the distance late at night, and you need to, like, hurry up in your car and floor it. Yeah, and it's no time for you to stop and put on your seatbelt. You need to put on your seatbelt as you're driving, as you're hauling it. Okay, please. Because you're doing a whole lot of like extra unnecessary things right now. And those unnecessary extra things that you're doing can easily get you clucked up. So I highly suggest you stop doing all of that extra shit you're doing. Trying to figure out who that is in the distance. Because
how tall it was, but being able to see more clearly now, I saw that instead of a foot taller, they were around 9 or 10 feet, towering over the entrance to the Burger King.
what?
It was on 2 legs and looked like a person, but definitely was not. It was wearing a massive tattered trench coat with large tears and gashes in the fabric.
You doing too
The
much.
best way I could describe the coat was Aiden Pierce style. Cheers if you get the reference. Through the tears, I could make out its skin, a pale gray color, like heavily watered down cement,
Come
and
on.
leathery. It looked almost wet, even though it hadn't been raining.
Come
It
on.
was walking slowly, deliberately, with oddly bent joints.
What you
It
doing?
was the most horrifying sight I'd ever seen in person. Instinctively, I turned the key in my car, and as soon as the engine flipped over and the charger roared to life, the thing turned to look straight at me,
Yeesh.
dead center. I swear, I made eye contact with those black, beady eyes.
What are you doing, yo?
Seconds later, it turned and took off sprinting at lightning speed. The way it ran, it moved more like a bird, but it was impossibly powerful and fast. It disappeared from my view within moments.
You know what? You can just forget running, forget hauling it, forget driving off. Just stay there. Just stay there, and just accept whatever is about to happen to you, because you deserve that. You do, because you had plenty of time to run away quietly. And if you had on Adidas, you would have outran your car, no matter what car you had. You could have had a Bugatti. You could have had one of the fastest cars in the world. But if you got on Adidas, oh, man, you out of there. Just saying. You would have been out. You would have ran so fast. You would have been out that clucked up situation so fast. You would have been faster than a guy throwing it down in the bedroom to a girl. Hit it once. You get that phone call. A couple weeks later, you get that phone call. And the girl that you hit up says, "Hey, I'm pregnant." And by the time she get that word out, bitch, you already on the other side of the goddamn world. That's how fast. That's how fast you would have been out of there if you was wearing Adidas. But she wasn't, so it's like, what's the point? You feel me? Like, what you doing with your life? Nothing. Oh, okay.
As soon as it was gone, I floored it home. I drove straight there without stopping, all the while paranoid that the thing was following me. And with legs that long, that would be pretty easy. I got into bed and endured a sleepless night, the entire time imagining footsteps and scratching outside my window. I never did return to the strip mall. To this day, I have no idea what the thing was. I haven't found a single matching creature from science or urban legend
You don't need
that
to.
fits its description. No matter how much I try to tell myself otherwise, I don't think that thing was human. I can't help but lay blame on the creature for the shattering of the windows and monitors, though I have no idea how it would have done it. But I don't care to find out. If there's anything to take from this, it would be, don't take being a security guard for an isolated place lightly. Know what you're getting yourself into. There's no telling what might happen, and what you might see when you're on duty.
I can tell this video is going to be long as hell.
Number 3. Confession of a Security Officer.
It's going to be over.
By S.O. Tom.
This video is going to be over like an hour long.
This took place back in the summer of 2007. I had just started working at a security company and was tasked with guarding an apartment building that was under construction.
Okay.
Workers were there until 6 p.m., and I would make sure no one came in and stole any of the equipment or supplies. These apartments were the kind that had stairs on each end that went up and down with open-ended corridors.
All right.
The doors were aluminum, and that will be important later. Part of my job at the site was to patrol the 4 stories every hour, to make sure all the doors were closed and locked still.
Well, okay. I mean, I would have closed and locked the doors, windows, vents, and all of that. 5 minutes before the construction workers left at 6, and then when they left, that's when I left. You're not leaving me here by myself. You got me all the way clocked up. So, I'm leaving when the construction workers are leaving. I'm not staying here at all hours of the night. You tripping. You better find somebody else. Okay? Do that. Please.
At 2 a.m., I left my car, which was seconding as my office, and started to walk around. As I got to the 3rd floor of the second building that night, I felt panic kick in.
Oh.
I didn't know why, but I just bolted out of there. I made it down the hall and to the end of the stairs, and started jumping down them to get down them faster. I made it back to my car and stayed inside until sunrise, too afraid to do my job after that. When I finally did have the courage to investigate before the morning construction crews came in, I found one of the doors on the 3rd floor had been bent and swung wide open. I went to examine the door and made sure no one was still inside. When I closed it, my stomach dropped. On the inside of the door, there were 3 deep claw marks, each one about a hand's width apart from the others.
What the hell?
Something had torn through the door and done so much damage to it that it had to be replaced. I've never heard anything approaching, and if not for my instincts, I probably would have been just as torn up as the door itself.
Well, thank God for your instincts.
Number 4. My Security Guard Shift by Jeffrey. I've been working as a security guard for a couple of months now, and it's pretty easy and has pretty good pay. Most of the time, honestly, you don't have much to do. I work at an apartment complex. Every so often I make the rounds, walking around to see if anyone has expired license plates or parked in a spot they're not supposed to.
You walking?
My work hours are from 11 p.m. to 4 a.m.
No.
Something happened recently to me that has me a bit freaked out.
Right.
One night, I was doing my job.
I'm sorry for the cut. I just had a phone call, and that just stopped my recording. Real quick. If I put my phone, I have an iPhone. If I put my phone on airplane mode, will I not receive any notifications? No phone calls or anything? Let me know that in the comment section, because I use my phone to record, and I see notifications, and if somebody calls me, that stops my recording. So if I put it on airplane mode, will that stop everything? So let me know that in the comment section below. Okay.
Till I heard something. It was like screaming, but something was off about it. It sounded more like a beached whale than a person.
You're doing too much.
The screams seemed to be coming from the nearby woods, where there was a fence to keep out anyone who wasn't supposed to be there. It took me a few minutes to gather my courage, but when I finally did, I hesitantly walked over to the fence and peeked through the woods, trying to find the source of the scream. When I came within 15 feet of the fence, I saw tree branches and bushes moving.
You too close.
As if something had just walked away out of sight.
You too close.
Something tall enough to brush past tree branches.
You too close.
I tried to get my flashlight on and pointing in that direction fast enough, but I only caught a brief glimpse of movement.
Oh my God.
For as long as I worked there after that, I never did hear the scream again, and I never did find out what it was that made that noise.
You will, one day, if we keep working that position.
Number 5. A security guard's creepy story. By Anonymous.
He gonna see that creature again. Best believe that. I won't. 6 out.
I work as an unarmed security guard in the state of Utah, where this experience took place about a month ago.
Okay.
I work graveyard shifts at a 14-building, 90-acre office near a state park and mountain range. At the very far west side of the property, there is a line of trees and forest separating a neighborhood and the office park's property. And to the north, there is a bike trail with forest on both the east and west sides. At night, the parking lots are very dark, with streetlights set up about 60 feet apart. That being said, it makes this forest area extremely dark during the night. One of these nights, I was out on my patrol, shining my flashlight into the thick wooded area. As I was scanning the tree line for any trespassers or teenagers having a little fun, my most common sight, my light happened upon a set of bluish-white eyes. This place is a very hot spot for deer to roam, and at first I assumed it was a deer. I quietly got a little bit closer, trying to get a better look at it just to be sure.
To what the?
And what I saw was no deer, rather something crouching down. It was covered in fur, and it was trying to hide, despite me obviously seeing it.
Back up.
It was large, a little bit bigger than a bear,
Back
but
up.
much more defined and muscular.
Haul it.
I stayed in my security car, just staring at this bulky creature of the night.
Yo, the way you're describing that creature makes it seem like that creature is strong and big as hell. So, you're also making it seem like, that thing, the creature, can take down your car. Because nowadays, I don't think the metal, nowadays cars, the metal in cars nowadays aren't as strong as what they used to be back in the day, old school day, 80s, 90s, or whatever. So I have a feeling that this creature is strong as hell and can probably take your car. Just saying. Just saying.
Wondering to myself, what in the world kind of animal is that? I'd never seen anything like it on the property.
You're doing too much.
I was both scared and curious. After 2 minutes of us glaring at each other,
Wow.
with this thing thinking that it was still hiding,
Wow.
it let out a bone-chilling growl, then turned and bounded off into the forest. I floored it back to the property, where the streetlights made me feel safe again, and for the rest of the week, I stayed away from the forests.
Did you?
Maybe it was just a bear, but maybe not. Either way, that creature appeared to be hunting, and it had its eyes set on me. If you're gonna be a security guard, take my advice, and stay aware of your surroundings at all times.
If you're gonna be a security guard, take my advice and haul ass. Bucket, kick rocks, give them the boot. skate on 'em.
Number 6. Creepy Bathroom Guy by Detailed Pig LOL.
Ew, pedophile. Watch. Pedophile, watch.
I work in a small local grocery shop as a security guard at night. I'm the type of guy that hates having to use public bathrooms, so it's always a surprise when you go in one. Anyway, the other night officer, let's call him Bob, was sick, so it was just me on the lookout. Now, I hate my job, and I only work there for the money, because I mainly have to check the bathrooms, which I've already said I dreaded. It was night, and I was just doing some extra restocking for the guys that work there when I heard something fall in the bathroom. I thought it was toilet paper, but then I heard heavy breathing. I was instantly freaked out. I went to check, hoping to God that it was just a broken pipe or something.
What? 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 I don't know what a broken pipe sounds like, but I know what heavy breathing sounds like. So, I mean, I feel like a broken pipe noise and heavy breathing. Shouts out to Dashy. But I feel like those two noises are very, very different. I feel like you playing. I feel like you playing. Cause ain't no way in the world a broken pipe sound effect sounds the same as somebody heavily breathe in. No, I feel like you playing, and you deserve what's coming to you. Boo boo.
I pulled out my flashlight, as the bathroom lights didn't work at the time. Just a few seconds after rounding the corner and entering the door to the bathroom, I dropped my torch in shock. There was this creepy dude with a hoodie, covering most of his face. He was extremely skinny, like the pictures of starving people you've seen in a National Geographic or something. He was wearing black jeans. When I entered, he snapped his head towards me and pulled out a large kitchen knife. But luckily, I had my phone. I kept my distance from him.
But luckily, I had my Adidas. I kept my distance from him. Cluck is you talking about?
Boss, who then called the cops. I pulled out a can of pepper spray and told him not to move or I was going to use it, but he didn't care. He approached me, one clumsy, melancholy step at a time, swinging that blade around, trying to cut me through for whatever reason. As the pepper spray got him in the face, the man didn't even twitch or react to it.
Wow.
I found myself running until the police arrived. It felt like an eternity, but I was finally safe. They arrested the guy, and they ended up giving me a raise and the next few days off. I think they felt bad for me, as that was the worst security incident we'd had. The following story was featured in a previous video, but fits perfectly here, and I know you will like it. Number 7. Always Check the Doors by Mr. Ace 44.
Always check your Adidas. Cluck is you talking about?
In 2011, I started my new security post in the insurance district of Hartford. That area has its share of old historic buildings, and my building was no exception. It was an early 1900s mansion that was converted into offices inside. But when I say converted, I really mean just desks placed in some old rooms. One night, around 1 a.m., I grabbed my torch and started my first round. I was, of course, nervous, as I had heard your classic ghost stories from the rest of the guards. As I came to the top of the main staircase, the extremely dim lighting did nothing to help calm my nerves. Door by door, I walked down, checking to make sure they were locked. I remember thinking, this isn't so bad. I'm already almost done with this round. Everything seemed to be going well, until I got halfway down the hall. That's when the door on the right was wide open. As I walked over and glanced inside, my heart sank. I began to sweat, wondering if this was even real. Sitting center in the room was a child no more than 6 years old. He was in the dark, playing with some toys.
It's a setup.
I continued fast-paced down the hall, ignoring what I'd just seen, thinking, am I going insane? The stories, they're just getting to me, right? I tried to shake it off, and I told myself my mind was just playing tricks on me, and that I need to go back and close that door. And when I do, if I look inside, there won't be anyone in there. I walked back, trying to force out a laugh to laugh it off and relieve myself. But my heart was beating harder and harder by the second. When I came to the door again and I looked inside, the boy was still in there. I was at a loss for words, barely able to breathe. Nervously, I muttered, "Hello?"
Hello, nothing.
The child turned around and nervously asked me with a sad face, "Have you seen my mom?"
Nah, you shit out of luck.
As calmly as I could, I took the child by the hand, trying to comfort him, and brought him downstairs to the security desk to call the police. I couldn't have been more relieved. It was just a lost child. How he got in the building, I don't know. I was just glad there was nothing to be afraid of. As we waited on the police, the child didn't say much and didn't seem too concerned. The cops arrived in only a few minutes. Turns out his mother worked at the office and had brought him into work that day and simply forgot about him. It baffles my mind how a parent could go 5 hours not realizing they had abandoned their child.
Right?
I continued working there for a few months and eventually got a transfer to a new post. At the end of the day, I'm happy everything turned out okay. And most of all, I'm thankful it wasn't a ghost. But you gotta admit, seeing a kid playing with toys in the middle of the dark, it would creep anyone out.
Right, yes. I'm glad you didn't get clucked up.
Number 8. Those Were Not Reflectors. By Ton Ton Tom.
What? Ton Ton Tom.
I've worked at this job site for a bit more than a year, and I went from working days to nights. This story happened very recently.
What?
It was November 21st, 2017. Specifically, I worked security at a chemical plant located near a river. The plant is about 15 square miles. To the south runs the river, and there is a berm there at the edge of a field to the northeast. On cold mornings like today, a fog rolls in from the river and blankets everything. As you read on, you will see why I explain this. My first duty when I get in is to get in the company vehicle, then patrol the plant and surrounding area. As I was patrolling, I was on the opposite side of the feed of the berm. Shining a light across the area, I saw the reflectors of construction vehicles through the fog. Then I saw what I thought was a set of reflectors from construction vehicles that really caught my eyes. They sat atop of the berm, 2 large red circles from 3 to 5 feet apart, and they were connected to a shapeless mass. I thought it was the reflectors of a trailer, and they were parked somewhere it shouldn't be. As it was illegal to park there, I kept slowly driving towards it. As I shined the light around again, the reflectors seemed to follow me, and I simply thought it was a trick of the eyes. Or it could have just been multiple sets of reflectors on the trailer.
No.
That was pretty common. The reflectors eventually disappeared, and I chalked it up to something getting between my light and the trailer. I kept going, and after finishing my patrol, which makes a circle, I went back to the field across the berm. I had to unlock a nearby gate to allow first shift employees into their areas. The fog had cleared up enough that I could see the berm more clearly, but I couldn't see any trailer on it. So I shined my searchlight there again. There were no reflectors anymore. There was no trailer. This frightened me a bit, because the only way someone would be able to get a trailer in or out of the area was to drive past me through the gate. The gate I had just unlocked. Whatever it was no trailer. The only thing that makes sense was that they were eyes. And if that's the case, this thing would have been big.
You was playing that. You was playing games that whole
Number
time.
9. A Wandering Spirit by Tom. I work the third shift as a security guard.
What is with all these third shifts? Like, yo, does nobody like first and second shift anymore? Like, I kind of wish third shift wasn't a thing. But then again, I felt like nothing would get done. Well, I mean, yeah. I thought nothing would ever get done. If there was no such thing as like a third shift, graveyard shift, you know. Just why can't we just do first and second shift? You know, come in. No. 6, 7 in the morning. No, get off. No. 2, 3 o'clock afternoon. You know. Second shift. Come in. 2:30, 3:30 in the afternoon. Or like right when first shift ends, that's when second shift comes in. And then that second shift, you know, ends at like when there's barely any sunlight, and that's it. How about just a shift from when the sun comes up and the sun is just about to set, and nothing after that? There you go. That's the shift right there.
I was at a location in a small town for about 2 months. There was a main building and a small guard building outside of it, in which everyone had to pass through to get to the other building.
Right.
My nights consisted of watching the CCTV monitors, and on nights when no one else was around, I would patrol the outside area and the inside of the building.
Yo, you doing too much.
One night, I was looking through the camera footage as it played live when I saw what appeared to be an orb appear on camera outside the side of the guard building. I thought it was a bug or something until I realized it was just floating there. I looked out to see if there was a puddle of water reflecting a light or something like that, but my area had been in a drought for a while, and there hadn't been rain in days. I wrote it off as a camera glitch until I saw a mist-like figure appear to be standing directly across the little road that ran past the shack. I looked out the window to the exact spot, but from my view, I saw nothing there. I grabbed my cell phone and started recording with my camera, a big no-no when working security, and filmed the figure on the screen for a bit. Suddenly, the orb disappeared, and the figure soon followed. This was not anything more than creepy, and I messaged the video to my fiancée and her sister. They thought it was nothing, just an effect of the nearby lights. They convinced me to write it off, until Saturday, October 8th of 2016. I was watching the monitors again late at night after finishing a patrol. As I watched the main buildings, the motion sensor doors opened. Then, without anything stepping out, they closed by themselves. I looked over at the camera feed. There was no wind blowing leaves, no animals, no reason the door's motion sensor would go off. Immediately, I was filled with a dreadful feeling like I was being watched. Then, the clicking started. It sounded like someone was flipping the light switches on and off. Immediately, I was filled with a dreadful feeling, like I was being watched.
Yes.
And then, the clicking started. It sounded like someone was flipping the light switches on and off.
They play it, man.
The lights, however, weren't turning on and off with the noise. Then I realized It was coming from the other side of the dropped ceiling. Then another started, and another. The noise multiplied until there was about 6 different clicking noises in the ceiling.
Wow!
All out of sync, and moving around in there.
You're still there, though?
I reached into my pocket and grasped my multi-tool. I convinced myself not to give in to the fear, so I did not leave or even look between the noises.
I would've...
As suddenly as they all started, there was just one last click, and it all went silent again. The fear and dread left, and I sat there, nervously watching the cameras again until my...
You need to... Why do some people know when they're in a clucked up situation, and they know this, like 100%, they know they're in a clucked up situation, and they know they can get out? Sorry. They know they can get out, or like they're about to be in a clucked up situation and they have more than enough time to get out, but they don't. Why? Why is it? Why? Just why? That's the real question of this video. Of this whole video. Just why?
You've showed up. I've experienced a lot of strange things in my life.
Have you?
But this takes the cake.
I hope they didn't take it.
And number 10, Locked Doors by Mike P.
Damn.
I'm a field manager for a private security company in Connecticut, and I have had my fair share of creepy experiences from the dozens of accounts I've worked at. But this one was the worst. I received a call from my branch manager one late Saturday night, explaining to me that one of the officers would not be making it to his assigned shift that evening.
You're tripping.
He needed me to go over there right away. I reluctantly agreed, but before I could finish, he interrupted abruptly, saying, off the record. Oh boy, I thought, what crazy backstory is there now? Things are never simple in the security industry. He explained to me that the other officer was injured the night before, and he was claiming it was due to, quote-unquote, paranormal activity. I laughed at him, telling him I love the paranormal, and that
I bet you won't be laughing in a second. I guarantee you that shit. I bet you won't. I bet you. And if I was in your situation, I would have told him no. I would have made up some BS story that I couldn't cover his shift. Cluck, third shift.
Be more than happy to work this haunted post. Fast forward. I arrive at this large-sized factory and get the brief rundown from the guard on duty, stating that during the weekend, no one is allowed on the property due to concern over employee theft of metals in the building. I was given the keys to the security trailer, located outside the building along with the key fob to the building. The remaining guard left after that, and I sat in the trailer for a good 2 hours, until my boredom and curiosity got the better of me.
See?
Lighting a cigarette, I stepped out of the trailer, making sure to test the key behind me before fully locking it. With success, I crossed the windy parking lot to the other side of the factory. Upon entry, it brought me to a small dark room with a door on the far side. I proceeded to the second door, opening it, slowly bringing me into the main floor of the factory. It was strange, though. I thought that the second door was somewhat backwards with the lock on the factory side of the door. So once again, before letting it fully shut, I tested my key to ensure that I would be able to exit. As I walked through the dimly lit factory, which smelled of rubber and oil, I made my way to a pile of crates when I heard it. I froze in my tracks, and my heart seemed to stop for a moment. In that moment, I couldn't believe how stupid I was to walk into a factory my superiors outright said was haunted. I managed to collect my thoughts and say sternly and loudly, "Security, show yourself!" And as I expected, nothing but silence filled the room.
So whatever is about to happen to you next, that's on you. That's on you. Because your peoples told you that it was haunted and you still went in there. That's like me going to Disneyland without no Adidas. That's like me about to have sex without no Adidas condoms. Like, it's just a no-no. They told you in advance, and you still did it. You still went forth. So whatever is about to happen to you next, that's on you, and I'm not going to feel no type of way if you get clocked up. Sorry, not sorry.
I stood there for a moment, sweating, trying to look for any explanation for that noise. But then, it came again. That was it for me. I was out of there. I kept my mind clear and retracted my steps, coming around the corner to the door I had entered from. I calmly went for my keys, and I placed the key in the lock, turned it, and nothing. The door wasn't even budging, and again I tried, but it wouldn't work. But the coughing, it was getting closer.
Well, it's time for you to throw up them hands. Because you can't go nowhere, so what's up?
By then, I thought, screw it, and I ran through the factory until I found a fire escape. Then I made my way out. Running across the windy parking lot felt like an eternity, but I finally made it back to the security trailer. I pulled out my keys, fitting them into the lock, and again, the door didn't budge here either. What in the world was going on? For 30 minutes I stood in the cold, continuously trying to unlock the door until I gave up, and I kicked the door in, which I must admit was pretty fun. I'm still puzzled at what kind of force or entity is in that factory, but I sure hope I don't find out, and I most certainly won't be returning at night anytime soon.
But I feel like you're going to find out what it was.
It's so good to be back, everyone. If you didn't know, I've been on vacation for the past few days, and that's why there's only been single-story uploads. But now I'm back, and I'm ready to scare the bejesus out of everybody. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to share it and leave a like. Also, what do you think the creepiest job would be? If you want to support my channel further, you can go to patreon.com/darknessprevails and donate any amount to get your name in the credits at the end of the videos. Or you could get my merch at morbidmonsters.com or by clicking the shop button below. If you don't have any extra cash, you can still support me for free by downloading my free app Spooked off the Google Play Store. It has all my stories and my videos in one place. Anyway, here are my 5 favorite early comments from the previous full video about 10 disturbing confessions from cops. Maggot Bam Bam 100 says, "Did I make it to my narrator's video fast enough?" Yes, you did. By the way, when does season 2 of Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid come out? I'm asking for a friend. Bramble Chaser says, "The Twilight Zone can be scary, but it's not focused on being scary was the point. The Twilight Zone tries to make you think, so there ends up being a few scary episodes. But if you want an anthology series where every episode is meant to chill you, you should watch Tales from the Dark Side." Manuel Trujillo says, "Finally one of the best moments of my day. You still have to let me know about the Central American stories, hombre. I'm working on it. That region is too rich in culture not to be discussed horror-wise. South of the border monsters." Sonia Rodriguez says, "I didn't think you'd look like this with your voice." Just let it out. People keep giving me crap over my face and my glasses. You know, no matter how popular or big you get on YouTube, for me, anyway, it still makes me sad when people make fun of me. I'm not saying you are, but there were plenty of other comments, and there always are comments, whenever I show my face. But I've got a beautiful wife, and 326,000 subs and growing, so I'm doing something right. And Luna Noir says, "My unhealthy addiction is fed once more. Does this make me a dealer or an enabler, or both?" Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching another episode. More are coming soon, and I can't wait to bring them to you. Let me know in the comments what future topics you want me to cover. And here are the credits to my patrons, who continue to donate and just be generally awesome. Until next time, guys, this world is a strange one. So stay safe out there, and stay creepy.
Darkness Prevails is starting to grow on me. I'm starting to like him a little bit more and more. But not now, because my back hurts. I'm gonna lay down for a second. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Oh, is it over? Okay. Y'all. Y'all couldn't pay me enough to be a security guard. Like, and there's no money in the world that you can give me to be a security guard or to be anything, and I do third shift. No money. Absolutely no money. Like, low-key, I'm still scared of the dark. But, you know, that's just me. I'm a grown-ass man. Still scared of the dark. You know, if you grown and you still scared of the dark, let me know that in the comment section below. But, yeah. Like, I can be a security guard. Just first and second shift. Probably first shift. No. Probably a mid shift between first and second, and if something pop off, I'm running. So I mean, you know, I know security guards are supposed to be like, you know, brave, courageous, all that. That is not me. Never has been, never will be. Something pop off. Don't look at me to protect you like I'm not going to protect you. I'm protecting myself along with my Adidas. If you personally know a security guard that gets easily scared or that runs, like when something pops off, let me know that in the comment section below. Also, to answer his question, like, I think it was what is the creepiest job on that you can have? I guess, I don't know. I would have to say, like, I don't know, like, protecting or maintaining, like trying to protect graveyards, tombstones. I don't know. I feel like dealing with dead people, I feel like that's the most creepy job you can have. Cause it's like I'm not even about to explain that, but yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory. But yeah, I knew this video was gonna be mad long. I just didn't know how long, so there's that. Keep it cool, keep it classy, and I love you. Stay happy, my family.